Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathashala. My name is Dr. K.R. Ramamohan. I am Associate Professor and Head Department of Anthropology, Sikkim University, Gangtok. Today we are going to talk on module on foundation of anthropological thought. This is from the paper called Theories and Methods in Social and Cultural Anthropology. Before we go to this important topic in social cultural anthropology, students must know the learning objectives of this very important topic in this module. To introduce students the history of anthropological thought by tracing its historical development, to classify the course of historical development, academic and anthropological importance in terms of its development. Another learning objective is to focus on the founding thinkers and anthropologists, theories and ethnographic researchers that have constructed histories of anthropology, and mainly the anthropologists are from British, American, French and many more in the historical process. To explore the formation and emergence of anthropology as a discipline in the late 19th century to the late 20th century. To discuss on development of major subdisciplines of anthropology, which are sociocultural, linguistic, biological, and archaeological anthropology. You also have to look into an attempt to look at how developments in anthropology might be related to other historical and academic developments. Anthropology is a very interesting subject which is as ancient as mankind. Anthropology, being an academic discipline, has only started 100 years ago, but the roots of anthropological thought and its founding fathers were way back even before 425 BC in the history of mankind. It all started with a Greek traveler called Herodotus during 425 BC, where he wanted to know how many cultures around the world are being living and how do they organize their life. Though it was not a complete ethnographic study by Herodotus, but he gave the impetus for this subject, anthropology, by tracing their history, their cultures, their language, their social organization, their economy, and how do they govern themselves. So that was the beginning of anthropological understanding of humankind. After Herodotus, which gave these travel notes by looking into many European cultures which were in crude form, and it all started with the understanding of these cultures. If you look at the word anthropology, this is come from a Greek word anthropos and logi or logos. Anthropos meaning is man, logos, logi is called science. So we can say that anthropology is science of man. What does this mean of science of man? What we are going to learn about this science of man? It includes all aspects of the humankind, be it social, cultural, biological, linguistic, archaeological, medical, economy, political aspects, health aspects, which includes every aspects of man. Hence it is called anthropology as a holistic study of humankind. It is not only just a study of humankind, but anthropology also studies the near relatives, biological relatives of humankind like apes, and we try to see what is the evolution pattern of from smallest animal kingdom to the full-fledged what we call man to human. So since Herodotus gave a small impetus of beginning of this travelogues of all the cultures around Europe. It all took to the early philosophers of Aristotle. Aristotle was the man who gave this word as anthropology. From then onwards, we can see many contributions in terms of knowledge of human people, how they lived and in what conditions they lived, how culture has come up, and this culture has given to various social organizations of in each and every culture. If you look at the whole thought process of anthropology as a discipline, it takes on two approaches. One is the synchronic approach and the other one is the diachronic approach. Diachronic approach studies the man and his culture through an historical process. Synchronic approach takes culture from a contextual, that how culture is appeared and how culture is governed at a given particular time in a given particular culture. So hence anthropology takes both the diachronic approach and the synchronic approach, and it is how it is being merged together, and the marriage of the synchronic and the diachronic approach gives a full understanding of anthropology as a holistic discipline covering all aspects of man without leaving anything. Hence it is also called anthropology is the study of without any portfolio. With this impetus of early beginnings of anthropology, there are four periods of anthropological thought which begin from in four aspects. One is the formulation period, which is started around 1835. In this formulation period, all the materials, all the ethnographic works which have been collected in a crude form has been gathered. Hence, we can say that the real anthropological thought has begun from this formulatory period of at 1835. Slowly, from 1835, many scholars began to give their studies and more understanding from different disciplines, not only cultural aspects, even from a physical aspect. How evolution has taken place, what are the mechanisms which have been made to give the biological connections to the culture. So in this aspect, all the major sub-disciplines of anthropology, which the thought process and the contributions gave by other scholars, which have been placed under what we call the convergence period. In this convergence period, which started from 1839 onwards, where all the materials, all the works has been converged into some kind of a larger accumulation of anthropological understanding. After convergence period, what we call is at 1869 onwards, it is the constructive period, where much more scientific aspects of humankind wants to be established to take anthropology further and to understanding of cultures at large. After the constructive period, the last period what we call is the critical period of anthropological thought, which started at 1900 onwards. At this point of time, Pennyman, which has said that anthropology is a holistic discipline, and he gave a complete scientific understanding of all the anthropological works, which started from a critical perspective, not just understanding or taking all the cultures at time, but to see how different scholars have understood different aspects of humankind across all cultures in this world. So from Pennyman, which gives the history of anthropology at 1900, a full-fledged understanding of anthropological thought and its contributions have flourished all over the world. Many anthropologists have contributed immensely from their extensive fieldworks across the world, which gave more major contributions are from Europe. If you look at the whole anthropology as a scientific discipline, as an academic discipline, as a systematized discipline after 1900, we can see contributions from British anthropologists, we can see contributions from French anthropologists, we can see contributions from American anthropologists. Forget not, other anthropologists have contributed, but these are the four major traditions in anthropological understanding are the British, the French, the American, also some parts of Canada anthropologists have given some understanding of, and they consolidated the idea that anthropology is a discipline in its own, like other disciplines like physics, chemistry, mathematics, science, which has its unique way of explaining about human nature, culture of all the cultures across the world. Now let us understand how and what are the significant contributions which have given a basic understanding in terms of theoretical understanding. First understanding of human being started what we call quote unquote called animism. Animism is a theory which in the formulation of anthropological thought, which says that it is a spirit worship. People used to worship plants, animals, and they say that there is some kind of reverence towards these natural objects. After animism, what we call as the primitivism. Primitivism also gives an understanding that exotic cultures, because so far there is some kind of a division between civilized and uncivilized cultures. Primitivism is some kind of an understanding how quote unquote the cultures which are primitive, which are in the beginning of civilization, have lived and how they organize their cultures. Another thought which gives in anthropology is relativism. Relativism is each culture has to study in its own way. We cannot combine one culture with another culture. In that context, relativism or cultural relativism gives a better understanding culture in its own place and in its own way. Then we have what we call functionalism. How certain elements in cultures function to the larger needs of the society. Then we have structuralism. How cultures have social structure at large and how this structure organize people in a given culture. Then we have another uh, theoretical understanding called syncretism. How these one aspect of element is combined with another aspect of culture, and which gives us some kind of a blended future, and we call it as a concept of a syncretism in anthropological understanding. Before we go on this little theoretical understandings, what are the major contributions of anthropologists from different countries? The first impetus, we go with the British anthropologist starting from Edward B. Taylor. Taylor has given an impetus to understanding of the culture. He wrote a book, important book on primitive culture, how culture started. So the famous definition of E.B. Taylor is that culture or civilization is a complex whole of individual who acquires art, belief, custom, knowledge, law, and morals, or any other capability which is acquired by a man as a member of society. So far, even though there are thousands of definitions on what is culture or what makes a culture, Taylor's definition on culture still stands good, and it is taken as a starting point when we understand the definition of culture. Many anthropologists have come out with various definitions of a culture, that culture is psychological, culture is learned, culture is this thing. But Taylor's understanding still holds relevant because it encompasses all kinds of aspects of social organization of human beings in each and every society. Taylor also gave stages of development in terms of that human beings first started with the savagery, that all cultures are in a savage kind of. Then it's started developed into some form of barbarism, which though there is some kind of organization, but people are barbaric in nature, which are in hunt for natural resources. Then the last stage is what we call the civilization. So if you see this classification from savagery, barbarism, and civilization, that we come to see some understanding of how cultures have been come out from a Taylor's point of view. Then we have significant contributions by Morgan, which also studied of all the ancient societies, how societies or how cultures have arisen across the globe. He gave this concept of started with primitive magic, that in early form of societies, there is some kind of magic where people have some faith in and how these objects are being related to their social reality. From magic, the second stage has come to religion. That is, there is some kind of a form which people revere, and there is some kind of an understanding that some force is guiding their social life. After religion, when the whole society, which slowly being the concept of rationality has come, and with this rationality, the discipline of science or scientific understanding has come into being. So if you see this typology from magic, religion, and science, we can see that cultures have progressed from one stage to another stage according to Fraser. We have other contributions extensively from British tradition. Apart from this, we have then uh, Radcliffe Brown and Malinowski, which has given a total understanding of that societies and cultures should be understood from a functionalist point of view. Malinowski says that societies are there to fulfill the needs of every individual in a society, and each need is given by one social institution, and this social institution which caters to the need, and that is how we can see some kind of a unity and integrity within the society. After this, Radcliffe Brown has further improvised the concept of functionalism, and he says that it is not only just functional aspects of culture, but if you look at the larger social structure which also governs the whole functional needs of this uh, in given culture. Notwithstanding these two British anthropologists, like we have so many other structural anthropologists who are given immensely to this thing, and we have French anthropologists starting with Marcel Mauss. Marcel Mauss thought that all societies, all cultures have functioned according to exchange. And this process of exchange in terms of economic value, which gives the larger social structure. From this point of Marcel Mauss of exchange and social structure, there is another significant anthropologist, which is Levi-Strauss, which is given a complete different, unique understanding that societies and cultures are governed by a larger social structure, which based or on the unconscious thought process of man, and these things are united at large by the structures, and it is called structuralism. At the far end, in the West, even American anthropologists have significantly contributed to understanding, starting with Franz Boas, which says that give a new understanding called historical particularism. That cultures cannot be studied conjecturally or hypothetically from a armchair anthropologist, like without doing any empirical fieldwork, but you have to see culture in its own historical process, how a particular trait has come out and how it has been diffused into that culture from other cultures. And he gave what we call the historical process or historical particularisms. Then Bose, after Bose's understanding of historical particularism, Kroeber has come out and says that he says that cultures have some sort of configuration, which is called cultural configuration. After Kroeber, we have many American anthropologists who have given a full understanding, such from Ruth Benedict, from Margaret Mead, a host of others which have give excellent contributions from culture, personality, from technology, from all these things. And there are some significant contributions also from Canada, which are from Dawson and Edward Sapir, that cultures can be understood from a linguistic point of view, and how when a social aspect or social element like language is being ordered from a structural point of view, we can also learn and see that how language has been constructed. So in that sense, we have all these contributions from Canada, from Britain, from France, from America, which strengthened this whole scientific discipline of anthropology. There are many more contributions which came across all over the world, which are also important in its own way. But if you look at the entire anthropological thought process, these we can say that these are the founding fathers of anthropology. One can also say that most of the founding fathers are in between sociology and anthropology. Yes, we have founding fathers from uh, which gave from sociologists like Herbert Spencer, social evolution, and we have Emily Durkheim, which gave Untitled persons, which gave on social action theories. But nevertheless, if they were the which gave some understanding of things, but anthropology has gone beyond this sociological understanding, which were the earlier founding fathers from Parsons, Durkheim, and Parsons and Spencer. We have a more full-fledged, and it has flung into many micro disciplines. And today, if you look at the whole anthropological thought, it is unique on its own, whereas in understanding the whole human life and its process at various levels. So anthropological thought is not a recent phenomenon which occurred only in the late 20th century, but as I go back, I still say that it has all its beginnings as early as 425 BC, started with Herodotus, and thanks to this Greek travelers and Greek scholars which have given understanding of how cultures or how societies organize themselves, how do they live, what kind of law they have, what kind of organization they have, what religion they have, what language they speak, and how trade was begun. With this understanding at a travel notes with this of different cultures across the world, slowly it has gone through different phases like the formulation period, the convergence period, the constructive period, and the critical period. In the Indian context, if you look at how anthropological thought has been flourished in this subcontinent, it all started with the colonial uh, works which have been under the British rule and all these things. All the anthropological works are being the product of colonial rulers and what we call colonialism. And British were interested, the rulers were interested, and they sent their scholars to study. In this section, we have seen how different theories and understanding of anthropological thought has been given by many scholars across the world. Not only the beginnings, but it has how the historical developments in the discipline of anthropology in a chronological way given by different scholars. All the anthropological thinkers whose theories and contributions are discussed under this uh, module uh, can be grouped together and form different schools for the purpose of analysis. And they're also, I mean, try to solve many issues which confronted all the societies, drawing upon all the cultural context for various clues about how to address a problem in ways that will make sense to the people of any given culture across the globe. These understanding or these inputs also provide information about communities that help different agencies adapt projects to conditions and needs for all the cultures in terms of their well-being. Thus, an anthropological perspective on the issues of human development is basically cross-cultural and includes the examination of the present social, political, economical, and theology of the globalization, in a sense that not only just anthropologists, they study the crude aspects of culture, but also anthropological understanding goes beyond the theoretical understanding, in a sense that it goes with an applied aspect of that how certain communities can be developed, how certain communities can be empowered in terms of all these anthropological understanding, especially in the era of globalization. And not only that, there are many context related problems which can give a fuller understanding of how a particular society is reeling under development. If you look at some of the aspects of some communities or some cultures or some societies in the world which are really underdeveloped in terms of its economy, so in a sense that all these understanding gives kind of solution to various problems from a cultural perspective, from an economic perspective, from a political perspective. And not only just only this aspect, but it also goes with this environmental issues and the preservation of cultural diversity and the empowerment of communities and its members at large. So look, if you look at the whole aspects of how communities have evolved from cultural perspective, so we can have some understanding that anthropological thought, which gave more widen our perspectives of how communities organize themselves, how communities come into this kind of a development process. If some communities are in a different level of development and some communities are not to that aspect of development, our anthropological perspectives, our anthropological thinking gives many clues to solve these problems. Not only that, anthropologists are also interested to preserve these cultural diversity from a unity perspective. We say that every culture is unique in its own way, but at the same time, all cultures, all also some kind of similarities are there. With this kind of an understanding, a humane understanding has emerged when we look at the whole anthropological thought process. So in that way, students of anthropology have the benefit of or they have this advantage of understanding various theoretical contributions given by major thinkers in the whole discipline of anthropology, which broadens our understanding of what we and what others are. With this kind of understanding, not only about other cultures, which also mirrors our own society and our own culture, which gives a more understanding and more embracing views of all the cultures across the world, which is very important in taking the anthropological understanding further to solve and to empower many communities which are needs special attention at a smaller level and even at a larger level. Thank you.